Taylor with the Taylor team. I've got Drew here today, and we're going to talk about how we sell our home safely during this time, during this period of COVID.
Hey, Blair, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you taking the time to answer my questions today. Interested to hear what your response is to with everything going on in the world. So again, appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Good to talk with you.
All right. So my first question really comes down to, with COVID-19 being as prevalent as it is, and most notably touching things and the spread of this, as well as it living on
Right.
surfaces for an extended amount of time. So
Okay.
when it comes to showings where other people are coming into my home as I'm going through the process, what's being done to, one, kind of help nullify the spread of COVID-19, but two,
Right.
keep me and my family safe, as well as the buyers and their families safe as they're touring my home?
Gotcha. One of the things that we're doing right now is we have, through our centralized showing service, there's a notice that comes on before they even answer the phone. And it says, if you've been sneezing or coughing or have been around or exposed to anybody else that has, that they ask that we not set showings during that time. So that just keeps people that we know may have an issue from exposing other people at that current time. So that's something that I think is really kind of helped, and helping other agents be aware to pay attention to their clients and their self, and make sure that people are okay before they enter someone else's home. Also, it's back to just like it's always been, in the sense that we don't want another person in the house when we are showing it. As a buyer's agent, when they're showing that, we don't want to have them in the house at the same time, which is pretty common, pretty normal. Sometimes people ask, where do we go? Even if you go into the backyard, and just give them their space, that's okay. But we want to be conscientious of not getting too close to other people, and just kind of like we've been taught, at bare minimum, you want to keep a 6-foot distance. But beyond that, just you don't want to expose each other. So that's something that I think gives you guys a little bit better idea. Also, we want to make sure too that we let people know that they don't need to be touching things, which people generally don't do, but especially during this time. And when a showing is over, it's very good for a seller just to wipe down your doorknobs, your countertop surfaces, and so on and so forth with either Clorox bleach wipes or Lysol, just to keep a good, clean environment.
Yeah, absolutely, Blair. I definitely concur with trying to keep everything as clean as possible, but I appreciate you guys taking the initiative of helping with that by not having people touch things, as well as trying to maintain that space and everything of that sort too. So that's good, great information as well. So next, let's then dive into the documentation of everything.
Okay.
When it comes to whether that's signing a listing agreement with you, and or when it comes ultimately time for the closing table, things of that nature, anything with documents involved. How are we doing that nowadays?
Sure. Okay. We use either DocuSign or eSign in signing documents. So many times right now, we're either doing a Zoom listing appointment or just taking the listing over the phone if it's a past client that I've already been in their house before. The main thing is we can sign everything via email and e-sign a DocuSign. When it comes to listing the house, getting offer on the house, countering an offer on the house, all of those things are covered by e-signing, which is really helpful. It's helpful, it saves time, and also during this time, it's imperative. One thing that's kind of interesting is going to a closing right now is like driving through the McDonald's line. So basically, you drive through, and they do drive-through closings. You have a closer that'll stand about 6 feet from your car. They're constantly wiping the pins down, handing you a tablet to sign, and they even notarize on the spot. So the only thing that we can't e-sign is closing documentation. That stuff we actually sign, and they are there to notarize it in person. They're staying away from the car, wearing masks, and keeping everything clean and sanitized. So again, right now, a closing is just like driving through the McDonald's line to get a hamburger. So it's been pretty interesting and pretty fun. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could only imagine driving through the McDonald's drive-through, and next thing you know, instead of a burger, you end up with a house. You know?
yes, instead you're buying a house, the largest purchase of your life. Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But that's a great comparison as well to kind of show that. So you kind of touched on this a little bit with
Yeah.
the last question in regards to
Okay.
closings. Being that drive-through, so perfect. That answered my question already. So
Okay.
we'll move on to the next one. As far as again, you touched on all my questions before I
Sure.
even get to them, Blair.
Mhm.
So double done to you. But more along the lines of as far as communication all the way throughout the transaction, can you give me a little bit better picture of that? You'd mentioned Zoom
Sure.
as well as just phone calls, but
Right.
give me more of an outline of what your guys' process looks like with communication during these times.
Of course. So basically, most of this stuff is done even like via phone call. So once we uh, once we take the listing and we have showings on our property, Lisa calls with feedback to give you feedback on your showing. And again, once your house is under contract, Jenny is the transaction coordinator, so she will communicate back and forth with email, phone, and keep your transaction going with the title company in order to get to close. And we already kind of talked about when you get to closing, it's just a drive-through closing. So really the majority of that process is pretty much the same as it was before. Um, One other thing I might bring up too is on photography. We've recently kind of put some guidelines together for that, and I'll read a couple of these. When you're getting prepared for the photographs for your house, you want to make sure that you've got everything set in place and ready to go. Because, like we talked about before, for showings, um, even if you step outside, we try not to have the photographer and the seller in the house at the same time. So you want to get all your furniture placement done, have your lights turned on, have everything ready to go. And then again, our photographer will wear gloves and a mask, and any surfaces that they touch, they do wipe down, including door handles. Where they set their camera and their equipment, they wipe that down. So we just want to have it nice, prepped, ready, lights turned on for them and ready to go so they can shoot some really good quality pictures.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely another great point as far as photography. So, but another question I have
Yeah.
for you, Blair, is so virtually you're telling me that most all the intricacies, so to speak, of a real
Yes.
estate transaction
Mhm.
have been moved virtually, correct?
Yes, that's correct. That's right. Virtual and also phone calls. So we try to limit contact direct with people just because we all want to stay safe and we all want to be responsible. So it's really helped us having the technology that we have. And like I said, some people want to talk on the phone, some people want a Zoom conversation, some people, you still have certain situations where you may have older folks that don't use, you know, the computer where you can talk to them on the phone, and that works too. So at the bare minimum, even if I have to meet somebody, I want to keep a good distance. We don't shake hands. Which is a little awkward, but hey, we're getting used to it for the time being. So
Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine meeting somebody and not shaking hands with them. It's
it's kind of awkward, but we're getting used to it.
yeah, well, a little bit of an awkward
Yes,
thing,
exactly.
but absolutely. So that's all my questions for
Yeah,
I got for you today, boy. I appreciate you taking the
sure,
time to answer them.
absolutely.
And yeah, it was just a pleasure to be on.
Man, I appreciate you too. And guys, if you have any other questions, you need us for anything, we're here for you. Feel free to give us a call or shoot us an email, whatever we can do to help, we're here for you. So hope you guys have a great day and we'll talk soon.